Hello and welcome to Tiny Desk Knitting with Emma. I am recording this on Tuesday morning, nice and early, and if I look like I just got out of bed, I basically did. I have to get blood work done, like I have to go get blood drawn, and everyone who's ever done that knows that you can't eat, you have to do it fasted, which is very hard for me because I eat all the time. Because I run a lot, so I have to eat a lot. So I scheduled it for like the earliest I could possibly do that, which was Tuesday morning at 9:30. Like that was the first time they had available at the place near my house. And that does not interfere with my running, because Tuesday I can move it to the afternoon. I don't have to run like more than 5 miles today, so that's fine. But it does mean, and it was also like, okay, you can just get up, not eat it or drink anything except water, and then go get your blood work done. So this is also the first time I've spoken this morning. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to like power through at least a few hours of not eating on Tuesday morning. What am I gonna do? So the first solution that I came up with, these are all just partial solutions, was to take a sleeping pill last night. So like I just have like a bottle of Unisom sleeping pills just in case I need them. And I don't take them very often because they don't, like they do make you feel sleepy. And if you really need to sleep, like sometimes after like a 20-mile run, if I'm just not feeling sleepy, but I know I need to go to sleep, I will take a Unisom, and that actually works pretty well. But I find that, and everyone I know who takes these finds, like, I only take half of one, and the following morning I find myself like more drowsy than normal, and so I don't like to have to get up in the morning, early and drive somewhere if I've taken a Unisom. So I definitely don't like to get up and run, just because it's hard to get up and out of bed. It's like there's just the like whatever the drugs I guess in your system are like, no, stay here, it's nice. It's like, yeah, okay, if I needed to do that, then that would be great, but most of the time I don't. But today I was like, okay, I'm gonna go to bed at like 9:30. I'm gonna take half a Unisom, and then I'm gonna sleep as well as I can, and like stay in bed as late as I can. And right before I went to bed, I ate a bunch of pretzels so I wouldn't be as hungry. And you know what? I woke up and I got out of bed at like 7:30. And I am really not that hungry. Like, I'm okay. So if I get really hangry while I'm recording, I'm just going to stop and finish it later, because I don't think anyone should have to watch that. But I thought that this would be a good distraction, because I can often just talk at a camera here. This is a little crooked. I'm just going to adjust it. I can often just talk at a camera here for 50 to 60 minutes, like without even really thinking about it. And then it will be basically time for me to leave. So that's great. So yeah, I did knit this week. I did spin this week. And I have some things to show you. So as you could probably tell, I'm like a little bit just like, what? But that's fine. You'll probably find it funny. Yeah. So let's start with what I'm wearing. I'm wearing the Visiting cardigan by Stella. I think it's Stella Aykroyd. Okay, so it's in this edition of Lina, which is number 11. And I can tell you that after a certain amount of time, Lina patterns, like Lina reserves the rights to a pattern for like a certain amount of time, and then they release the rights back to the designer so that the designer can sell it on their own platform, which is usually just Ravelry. So I'm pretty sure that you can buy this as an individual pattern. There is a pullover version, and there's a cardigan version. So again, I didn't check, but I've talked about this before on the channel, and I think you can buy this as an individual pattern if you like it. I really like it. I think it's very wearable. I've made it twice actually, which is surprising for me to make any pattern twice, but I made the other one for my roommate Jordan, and she really likes it, wears it a lot. It's oversized and the sleeves are really long, and I was like, I can shorten those for you, and she was like, no, I really like them weird and long like this, and she didn't want me to shorten them. I used not West Yorkshire, Wensleydale Sheep Shop Aran weight for this, and it's hard to tell because I guess it's just because of the texture of the yarn. It's just like knit one row and then it's knit one purl one, so it's like a broken rib texture. And I think the reason it's kind of hard to tell is because the way that this yarn, the consistency of this yarn, I don't know, the ply, the way it's made. I find that my knits and purls, when I'm working back and forth, don't look very consistent. So like when you're ribbing, for instance, like the knit side, the knit stitch is a purl stitch on the other side, as everybody knows, I hope. If you didn't, I'm so excited to have taught you that. But obviously knitting and purling are opposites. So if you're knitting in one direction, those same stitches that you were knitting need to be purled in the other direction. It's how stockinette is made, obviously. So yeah, sometimes I find that like when I knit in the round, it looks more consistent because if for a ribbing texture, but like, yeah, on these ones, you can't tell so much, but I feel like there are some spots where the like knits look a little bit like jagged when I purled back. And I wondered if this yarn would have done better had I knit something in the round with it, but I didn't, and I don't care. You know, if somehow a sweater quantity of this fell into my lap again, that's probably what I would do, but I had no desire to like unravel this and do something else. So this is the Aran weight. The Woolly Thistle, I think, carries this yarn, maybe just the 4-ply or the DK. I'm not sure if they have all the weights. Wensleydale Sheep Shop is like one specific shop in the UK, and I had the sweater quantity for years. Like I probably got it before COVID, so I got it from them. But because I don't think the Woolly Thistle has this weight, the Aran weight. But if they do, anyway, it's up there. My link to the Woolly Thistle is up there right now, regardless of whether or not they carry this yarn. If I can find it on their website, I'm gonna link it down below in the show notes. It is actually really, it's very warm. It's super drapey. It's really shiny. Wensleydale has a really long like lock, like it's a super, super long staple, which makes it shiny, but also like not, the longer the staple, sometimes people don't like the way that feels, but that's not always true. So like a long staple, sheep, sometimes we would think of as scratchy, but like, because merino, cashmere, those are really, really short. But blue-faced Leicester sheep also have a longer lock length kind of than a lot of the other softer breeds of sheep. But most people don't have a problem with blue-faced Leicester BFL yarn. Like they find that very soft too. So this is not just like a full overlap of, you know, a Venn diagram is, no, see, I've taken the sleeping pill and my brain is like not quite awake enough, and it's like I can't come up with the right metaphor. It's not a rule. Let's say that. It's not a rule. It's just a trend. So, yeah, I really like this cardigan. That's all I'm saying. I would totally make another one in 15 different yarns. Like I find it really comfortable. When I get into the habit of wearing this cardigan, I tend to pull it on like every day. So yeah, I should make another one probably. Or I could make another cardigan that's different, which is more likely what I'm going to do, and I'll do it in 5 years when I feel like it. So that's fun. Okay, I did finish my feathers socks. Here they are. They are dry, so I can show you what the front looks like. So yeah, I'm happy that these are done. I mean, it's always nice to finish a project. Yeah, I really do find it really amazing when you block lace, especially like a little tiny lace pattern on a sock, and watch that lace pattern open up after it's blocked. It's just really satisfying. Still very happy about this mouthwash yarn. I'm really glad that I used it. It's just really soft. It's softer than most 4-ply sock yarn that you get in the US, as I've said before. I got it from Peak District Yarns in Tideswell, the UK. So happy about that. Glad that they're done. Thought that perhaps I would not cast on more socks wrong about that. Actually, I had already cast on a pair of socks before I finished these, but it was on one of those needles that, I mean, it's a Chiagu needle, but like even Chiagu, like they say they're like unkinkable. That's like, Chiagu has never met me. I've really given these needles a run for their money. So I knit so many things, and well, I guess I've just did so many socks on whatever that needle was. Oh, the construction people have arrived. Hopefully that's not too distracting, that noise. I've knitted so many socks on that specific size 132-inch cord needle that, or 2.25 millimeters is the non-US conversion, needle size, that there are like a ton of kinks in that cord. Yeah, again, people who think that those cords they don't have any memory, I beg to differ. I am the exception to that rule. So I was annoyed by this when I was knitting that other pair of socks before I finished these socks. This was Cosmic Karma. And so I stopped knitting them until I was done with these, and then I went right back to them because apparently I really like knitting socks. Wow, they're really yelling today. They're just, okay. I hope that's for a good reason. They're building a parking garage across the street from my house. They've been doing this since I moved in. It's not usually that loud. Hopefully it's not that loud today. I work from home on Tuesdays, and I've never been like really bothered by it aggressively before, although sometimes they make noises with their construction machines that are loud and obviously bothersome here. But yeah, okay, I finished those socks. Awesome. And I started another pair of socks. I have been thinking about this for a long time, and it shows you that my brain is a crazy place, I guess, to tell you about this. But yeah, I've just spent so long knitting socks that are my own designs, like the last 2.5 years, basically. Yeah. No, more than that. The last 3.5 years, basically. It's a long time. So I was like, you know what? I want to just knit socks that I didn't design. I just want to do that. Like, just I need a break. Like, I want to just find joy in this and not like feel like it's work. Even though knitting to me never feels like work. Sometimes when I'm knitting my own patterns, I'm like, I have to finish this so I can publish it. As though that's going to happen anytime soon. Like, we all know that that's not going to happen anytime soon. So anyway, I cast on a pair of socks that I've actually knitted before. These are the Shell Cottage socks by Helen Stewart. And I think this pattern is really fun. It's fun to knit and it's fun to look at. And this is a yarn. Hang on, I can go get a ball. I have a lot of it. Don't ask me why. It appeared in my life. And a lot of things appear in my life. It's from Eden Cottage Yarns. Milburn 4-ply, 85% BFL, 15% silk, 50 grams. It is the shade Time. So if you're interested in it, I'll try and link their website in the show notes if I can find one. Oh yeah, they have one. www.edencottageyarns.com. So if you want to get your paws on some of this, it's very nice. At first, it took me a minute to get used to it because it's very soft because of the silk, and it's, just different from other sock yarns. I felt it was a little splitty at first, and then I just got used to it, and it was no longer feeling that way. So when I very first started knitting socks, I knitted this pair, actually. Not this specific pair, obviously, but I knitted a pair. It's probably over here, so I'll just keep talking while I go get it. And it is part of one of Helen Stewart's Handmade Sock Society collections. So, actually, I probably have a bunch of those. Let's see. Here it is. Yeah, I'm just going to bring these. I'm not going to bother finding all of them. So this is the first pair that I made. You can see that I used a much bigger needle. Like, look at that. Like, this is comical. I mean, I was still using 1.5 needles when I first was knitting, and so when when I knitted this pair of socks, I was using a US 1.5, so it is bigger. But yeah, this is like, I think it's funny to think about how when you start knitting a type of thing, even if you've been knitting for a while, and your sample size is small, like n equals 5, you know, or so, it's easy to have socks just be massive, small, whatever. Like, it's totally normal to just, I'm gonna put these on because they're cozy. I think that's very normal before you kind of just find your groove. And I think this is true for a lot of things, but knitting in particular, y'all will probably know what I mean. When you started knitting, there was probably like, you know, you knit a pair of mittens and they came out different sizes, you know? That happened to me with my first pair of mittens. They were Colorwork. I made them for my mom and I gave them to her and she loved them and wore them for a long time, even though we both thought it was funny that they were different sizes. So yeah, this pair of socks, like, but they fit fine. They're not like saggy or anything. They just have a much looser weave than these ones. And it's funny to me how much more giant they feel compared to these. Just like I can put this on. It does stretch. It's a ribbed fabric, so it does stretch. And I made sure that I could go over my foot yesterday when I finished the heel turn. But I'm coming back to myself. I can feel it. Waking up a little bit more. That's what talking does, apparently. But yeah, I think this is much more of like a streamlined. I've gotten into, you know, now I've made, I don't know, 300 socks. It's just maybe more than that. Probably not more than 300. I've probably made about 300 socks. Anyway, yeah, it just gets, this is how statistics works, right? Like, they eventually, like, if this is where normal socks are, you're going to be all the way like this for a while, but then it's going to even out. And then, like, after a while, you're going to get a consistent line because that's how consistency works. So yeah, that's fun. Just fun to like go back and see what I did when I first started knitting socks, and they're still great and I still love them. Actually, I just put them on and they're really comfortable on my feet. But yeah, they look vastly different from these socks. But if I showed multiple pairs of socks that I knit recently, they're much more likely to look like they're the same size. So that's kind of fun. Just something to be proud of over time if you ever get frustrated with your knitting. A lot of runners will get frustrated during the taper part of their training. So when they're tapering, they're running down before a race and they get really antsy and they freak out and all sorts of weird stuff happens to their brains. But one of the pieces of advice that you'll always hear people say is like, look at your training log and see how far you've come in the last 4 months or whatever. Like, look at all these amazing workouts you did. See how many miles you put in. Isn't that spectacular? And like, be proud of that and let that kind of fuel you, you know, for race day or whatever if you're freaking out. And so I think that this is not something that knitters would experience as people who you know, don't need to stop knitting. Although there might be reasons why people need to stop knitting. Like, what if you got injured and you were afraid that you wouldn't be able to knit? I don't think that's the same, because you might not be able to use your hands in the same way or your brain in the same way afterwards. Although our brains are remarkably good with habits, and so for most knitters, the act of creating a knit stitch is very habitual, and it probably doesn't live in the same place as our working memory for most of us. So if our working memory gets damaged, then we can probably still knit, which is really interesting. It would still be really sad, but it would be interesting. But yeah, that's not relevant, really. I've gone off on a weird tangent, as usual. So, pink sweater. So I didn't go to Monica's house this weekend because she was afraid that the baby was going to come. It did not. She's still at home. It's a whole thing, but it's not my story to tell, so I'm not going to do that. Monica's probably shocked that I'm respecting her privacy if she's watching this. But I did cast on the second sleeve. And I finished the first sleeve, so that was fun. Yeah, I did. Where's the first sleeve? There it is. Yeah, I got my act together, and I actually did this correctly. This one is not correct. This one's too short, but I was like, I don't want to fix that. So the first sleeve's done. Here's my little saddle. Hopefully all the pieces fit together. This is the thing with seamed things. You just don't know. It's fine. It'll be fine. So yeah, when I feel the urge to finish this sleeve, I will do that. I don't know when it's going to be. Maybe this weekend. Again, I thought that like once the third sleeve, the first sleeve, which is the third separate piece, because I did the first two, the pieces were the body and the front, or the back and the front. See, I'm not quite all there yet. The back and the front. I thought that it would go fast because I only had one piece to go. So far, that's not true. Sometimes that kind of thing motivates me. Sometimes it doesn't. But that's okay. It's already like starting to become spring-like here, which is great. I mean, I like winter actually because you can wear wool and stuff, but you can definitely wear wool into March and sometimes even in April here because there are days when it's chillier. Like there are lots of days when it's warm. And but then like the mornings, the evenings, like they're all chilly. So it's still like, there's definitely still opportunities to wear your wool here, even though the mean part of the winter is probably over, hopefully. Yeah, like I will be going on my run at like 3 p.m. today, and I will absolutely be able to wear shorts and a t-shirt, which is going to be really nice because I haven't worn shorts and a t-shirt outside in ages. Probably not since like, well, November, because I ran the marathon in shorts and a singlet. Because I was running a marathon and I sweated a lot. But yeah, that'll be nice. So pink sweater, yeah, it's getting there. It's, if you have missed it, it's the Svensson sweater by Jared Flood. It's a Brooklyn tweed pattern. He wrote it for Brooklyn Tweed Arbor. It's very beautiful. I'm hoping that it works out and the pieces are the same size and I really enjoy wearing it. If not, I will have to fix it because I really want to wear this sweater and I want it to be right. So hopefully it is. Okay. Yeah, the only other thing that I have been knitting on is this green cowl. And I've done pretty well with this. Oh God. It's gonna fall off. I think the stitches have already fallen off the needle here. Oh no, oh my God, they haven't. I almost just swore because I was so annoyed, but I didn't. And look at that. They hadn't fallen off. Okay. I don't even think that I'd started this last week. I think I was like, I have to start this. So here's what it looks like so far. And I think that it's very like, you can totally see the pattern, which is good. The contrast is very much high enough. And I think it is the effect I wanted. It's funny, like it actually is kind of similar to the original one in the amount of contrast you see. Like each color is slightly different from each other. And the blues are pretty close to each other. And I find that the same is true for a lot of these greens. Like they're just, yeah. I think this is a funky cowl. I really like it. One of the things that I think is helpful to think about when putting together colors, if you don't have a lot of confidence in putting together colors, is, and this is just something I do all the time anyway because I just think it's nice. You pick one palette. So here's my pink cowl. Again, not reblocked, but that's fine. I'm not wearing it, so it's okay. You pick one sort of main color scheme. So for this one, that's obviously pink. You come up with some main background colors that are all in the same family. Your background colors, like for this one, they're all pink and white. This one I used grays. I used white and 2 different grays against my blues. And then you pick something that's going to stand out. So my pop in this one is bright pink. Pop in this one is bright green. So it contrasts and stands out and looks really fun. Pop in this one is the kind of heathery pink. It's really different. This cowl specifically is, oh, both of them do that. I did it in both of them. They both use the pop of color in between all the dark colors and in between the light colors. So you need to have the contrast, be able to contrast with what's going on in the dark colors here and what's going on in the light colors here. So it's generally easy to make something pop against white if it's not that similar to white. But with the dark colors, it becomes really important that this color is very different from the other 2 colors in just like the actual hue of the yarn, because, and I say the word hue because we can think about value and tone and tint and all those things. If you read a good book on Fair Isle knitting, it's going to have all, sections about all those things. So like basically if I twirled a strand of this pink, I can show you actually around its background color, these 2 colors, and I took a black and white photograph, I don't think the contrast would be very noticeable. I wish I'd done that. That would have been fun. Like you can tell when I do that because the pink and this like kind of greenish gray are different colors. So if you're looking at them in a full color situation like this, come on, focus, there we go. You can see the difference, which means it's going to contrast visually. But if you were looking to see whether or not 2 colors, like one will, let's say we're working with pinks here. And so I needed to know, like, if this light pink would contrast with the white. A good way to know, this is just a fun fact, is to twirl them together and take a black and white photo and see if you can tell the difference between them in the photo. Most smartphones have the capability to take black and white photos now, or take a picture and then convert it to black and white. And it's kind of cool. It's kind of a cool trick. So yeah, well, I'm starting to get hungry. I'm starting to feel it. It's all right. We got like an hour left until blood work, and then I can go and feast on whatever I want to eat. There's a lot of food in my fridge. There's always a lot of stuff here. I might even like make a coffee and take it with me so that it's not going to be as hot. I guess if I made it in my Yeti, yeah, that would still be really hot. So I could do that. Yeah. I have a Yeti tumbler. I could do that. I was thinking I'd just go to Starbucks, but that's unnecessary. And also I have a meeting at 10:30, which is just with my boss, so we could probably reschedule it, but virtual meeting. We just chat at 10:30 on Tuesdays. It's like a normal thing. And I don't want to be like super late because I don't know how long blood drawing is going to take. I assume it's going to be really fast. But you never know. Sometimes things are annoying. Oh, here's my spinning. So I'm still working on this purple John Arbon fiber, and this is the end of the first half, so I'm actually pretty close. If you are not a spinner, you might think that this looks like a lot of fiber, but this is very little fiber. This is like, for me, that's probably like 1 hour of spinning, maybe less. So the bobbin's getting pretty thick. It's going to be 2 real chonky bobbins of this purple, but it looks fun. Yeah, I never get over like what John Arbon looks like when you get it as fiber versus what it looks like when you spin it into yarn. So it's really pretty. I think it's going to come out to like a sport DK weight, a little thicker than my normal spinning, but I think I'll enjoy that. I don't know what I'm going to make with it. I have no idea, truly, like at all. So sometimes that's more fun, and sometimes it's not fun because it stresses you out. It depends on the type of person you are. And for me, it just depends on the type of mood that I'm in. So yeah, fun times. Oops, my daily calendar needs to be. There we go. That's nice. I have a like quote a day calendar that I was given by the work study students in my office for my birthday last year, which was very sweet of them. They also got me some yarn. And it's like a quote a day thing, and it's like you can write the number of miles you ran, and I don't really understand. I'll show you because I actually ripped this one out because I thought it was sweet the other day. So it has like today's miles, today's feeling, sign. I don't know what any of those things mean other than today's miles. I think this is something that was made, just probably not super proofread by a whole lot of people. But the quote for this one was, "Let us be grateful to the people who make us happy. They are the charming gardeners who make our souls blossom." Marcel Proust. See, like, I don't even know if all these quotes are correctly attributed. I mean, this one probably is, but I just put it here because I actually thought that was a nice quote. This one today says, "Going in, you have to remember that the race is supposed to be the fun part. The race isn't to be feared. It's supposed to be the things," see, it should be thing probably, "we look forward to. It's why you did all the stinking work in the first place. So have fun." Ben Rosario. That's actually a nice quote. Except like there was like a stretch of like a week in this, like earlier this month, that was all about like family is everything and like love and like you should have children. And I was like, this is weird propaganda. This is not about running. But now we've gotten back into the running section. So that's fun. Yeah, this is like my last week of building miles before I take a big deload week for my marathon training right now. So I actually have managed to feel pretty good. I don't know if I talked about this last time, but like I know that I was remembering last episode that like in the fall when I was coming up on a deload week, I was really, really tired and fatigued. And this time around, I've had 5 weeks of build, which is more than you're normally supposed to have. Although I haven't had very much intensity in those weeks. Like I haven't had these big workouts that have left me like totally gassed. So I think it's okay. A lot of coaches say that's okay. You can continue to build without necessarily deloading miles for longer than 3 weeks at a time. As long as your intensity is dialed back and you're not like going to the well once a week or anything. So I think it's like this system feels fine. I definitely feel sometimes like my knees are like, you need a break. And I'm like, yeah, I probably should give my knees a deload week. And that's coming next week. But otherwise, I think my ability to just eat more has helped. Ironic right now when I can't eat. Wish I could eat. I'm very hungry. So just making sure that like I always have a lot of food around is very helpful, and that kind of thing. Just things that I want to eat. Just all that good stuff. A lot of snacks at Trader Joe's. There's a Trader Joe's 2 blocks from my church in DC, so I go there. If I don't have to buy anything frozen, I can go on Thursday before rehearsal. But if I have to buy frozen food, I usually will go after church on a Sunday. Yeah. Although Lent is coming soon, so then I'm going to have Evensong every Sunday until Easter. Which is fun. It's just work. It's a lot of work. But it's okay. It's lovely. It doesn't, like, I never think that singing feels like work. It's just like when your gig is so far away, you can't like go home. Like in college, I often did, at least in my last year, I didn't always do that before the last year, but at least in my last year of college, I frequently did go sing Evensong on Sunday nights. There was always Evensong on Sunday nights in my church in Toronto. And it was a separate choir, although there was some overlap. And so like I could have just gone and sang whenever I wanted, but I didn't do it regularly until I was a senior. And that was very different because church was I don't think I had to even be at church until 10:30 for an 11 o'clock service in the morning. We would do a short rehearsal, then we would go sing, and it would be done by like 12:15 or 12:30, and we didn't have to be back until 5 p.m. And so I would just usually go home because I lived a 10-minute walk, maybe a 12 to 15-minute walk from church. Back then, it was great. So yeah, I would just go home, do homework, I would often go grocery shopping, do errands. I was also younger. I was like 22 years old, and I had more energy. Wild to me that I had so much more energy 10 years ago. But yeah, that was fun, and it was a little bit like less crazy. Although the disadvantage, of having a rehearsal at 5 p.m. for a 7 o'clock even song is that like you're basically in church from 5 to 8, like all of the hours that you should be eating dinner. So sometimes I would bring something to eat between, we usually have a half an hour between the rehearsal and the service, but yeah, I would often go home and eat dinner at like 8. It would be like probably 8:15, 8:30 by the time I was eating dinner on Sunday night, and there was a Popeyes that I had to pass on my way back to my house or my apartment, and it smelled really good. It smelled like fried chicken. I actually really like Popeyes. If I have to eat chicken, like if I have to eat chicken, this is like if I've decided that I'm gonna eat like fast food chicken or just fast food in general, to be honest, Popeyes is usually at the top of my list. It tastes really good. I really like the spicy chicken tenders. I just think it's delicious. But yeah, sometimes you regret it afterwards for reasons. And so I would like get it once a month or so and then regret it and think about that for like the next 3 weeks. And then by a whole month would go by and I would have forgotten the pain of eating Popeyes, and I would get it again and the cycle would continue. Yeah. My friend Jeff also really liked that Popeyes. We would alternate between Popeyes and there was a place to get pizza. Popeyes was closer to my apartment, but there was a place to get pizza. I think it was called Presto Pizza. It was kind of like another few blocks away. So it wasn't that far, but like we could walk. But if it was really cold, we would never do that. Because Jeff always complained that it was too cold. And we would get Presto Pizza. That was actually really good pizza and it was really inexpensive. So that was good. Jeff texted me it was a few weeks ago, I guess, to tell me that he was knitting. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Good for you. He said my grandmother taught me when I was a kid and I just like decided that I needed something to do with my hands. And so I was going to try it. And he was like, it's not going well. And I was like, okay. Cool. But then last weekend, he sent me a picture of a scarf that he was knitting and I looked really good. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, that's actually great. And he was like, yeah, you didn't see the first 3 attempts that I ripped out. I'm like, yeah, that happens. Happens to the best of us. It's going to be, yeah, that's what happens. So, but I was really excited to hear that he was knitting. I thought that was really charming. It will make him appreciate the hockey socks that I make for him more. I finally caught up on sock number 2, and then there was a really long break in the season for the NHL because there was the national teams were playing each other. So there weren't any games, and so I used it to catch up, but now they're playing again, so I have to pay attention. I think I need to knit 2 more, and then tonight there's a game, and then it's the heel. So actually I could work on a sock heel tonight because I made a sock heel yesterday. Let's just make one today too. That's fine. Yeah. I started watching The White Lotus. If you've never seen The White Lotus, it's on HBO Max. It's very dramatic and kind of scary. It's not that scary. It's just every season of The White Lotus is freestanding, so you don't actually have to watch from the beginning because every season has a completely new cast and they're in a new place, but the story is always there's a fancy hotel resort somewhere in the world, usually in an exotic place. And so it's just like, there's always this, you find out at the beginning that somebody's been murdered, and then they go back a week and they tell the whole story. So, because you don't know who's murdered. You never know. So the story is always revolves around like really wealthy guests. Some of the guests are not as wealthy or as come from as much privilege, and so there's like tension between those two guests, or those two types of guests. And then there's like the people who work at the hotel, like the management. And then because the hotels are always in, like, most of the guests are like American and British, like they're white people for the most part, but there's often racial tensions between them. There are like people who are from wherever the hotel is located. So the first season was in Hawaii, the second season was in Italy, and the third season is in Thailand. So like there was a guy who was working at the hotel that befriended one of the girls who was a tourist there with like her rich friend's family, and like he was a native like Hawaiian, that was his background. And so he was like explaining the tensions between him and like the white people who work at the resort, and it was really interesting. And then in the Italian season there was like some girls that worked, I don't know if they worked at the resort or they lived in the town, and they were just like trying to meet rich guys at the hotel, but it was like that was a big part of the story. So I'm interested there to see what happens in season 3, and they didn't drop all of it. It's like they drop it like one episode a week, and so I haven't watched the one that aired on Sunday night yet. So, oh, excuse me, my stomach just growled. My stomach is like, hello, what are you doing? You should have run several miles and eaten a ton by now. But hey, it's not a normal day. Sometimes you just have to like be adaptable. That's fine. I'll get back to my normal routine tomorrow. What else do I have to say? I don't think I've been watching anything else. Oh, I'm watching Ted Lasso again. Big whoop. Because I got 3 months of Apple TV Plus free with my purchase of my new MacBook. So all my friends are like, you have to watch Severance, you have to watch The Morning Show, you should watch Shrinking. And I'm like, I'm going to watch Ted Lasso again first. It doesn't take me long to get through Ted Lasso, because I binge it. I love it so much. I've watched it like 10 times. It's a very comforting show for me. Because it's just one of those, like, it's a very, like lots of bad things happen in the world of Ted Lasso, and the whole point of all the lessons of the show are, like, be adaptable and try to do better. And I just feel like that is my whole life philosophy, and they did a good job, like, with the character development and the plot lines and the, just generally, like, the vibe of the show. So I there are a lot of people that I know and who I don't know. I know that they exist in the world who like are really satisfied with themselves and who really like don't want to do better in life. And I'm like, what is wrong with you? Like, I just don't think that's okay. And I think that we always need to strive to do better in many aspects of our lives, and that doing that is what makes us happy. Like, working towards things, even if we don't reach them at first, which is also exactly what happens in Ted Lasso. Like, it's really great when you finally crack the code of what's going to get you to the finish line. And that's powerful. So I think I just believe in consistency and working hard deeply, and I have to, because it's my job to teach students how to do that. So that's fulfilling for me, but I wish that was something that everybody understood. But I don't actually think that I understood that from the get-go as a little kid. I think that I just wanted things to be easy, as most people do. And my 20s happened, and I was like, oh, I can do better. And now I'm happy, because I always strive to do better and to bring people together as part of that. So anyway, I'm going to stop rambling now because I am getting really hungry and I don't want to get mad. And I have to be hungry for like another hour, and nobody needs to see that. So I hope that everyone is having a great week so far. Sorry for being very tired. I'm sure that it was entertaining. I hope I didn't talk too quietly. I could notice that I was tending to do that, and I was like, uh-oh, you can't do that. They can't hear you. You don't have a microphone. So hopefully it was fine. I apologize. If not, we'll be back to normal next week. Hopefully. So thanks so much for watching. I love you all so much. This has been Tiny Desk Knitting with Emma. Bye.